Колеги, продовжуємо.
Colleagues, excuse us for a bit of delay. We'll talk now about the promotion campaign for military mobilization of 2015. Tetiana Popova, who is the advisor to the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, and a cyborg who is Zoryan. In reality, he is Maxim Muzika. We were also supposed to be joined by Sergey Loyko, who is a photographer at the Los Angeles Times. He left Ukraine today, but yesterday we recorded his address, and he'll tell us about what he saw in the Donetsk airport, why he joined this promotion campaign, and what he's going to tell our guys who cyborg. This word has appeared before me, of course, and until the latest moment they were justifying their title. Cyborgs endured, but the concrete had not. I am a journalist. I should not issue calls. The young guys should decide for themselves, because they live in this country and they experience all this. But I'll tell you what I feel and see. At the moment, the time at the moment is crucial for Ukraine, when the morale at the time when you have suffered as something another failure and the loss of the terminal in the airport. And you know, I came here and I came and saw the fighters, and I didn't see that spirit in their eyes, the conviction in what they were doing. Many were disappointed, many were tired, and some of them were telling something else, but I felt and saw that they do not believe that something can be changed. Of course, it's very hard to wage a war against the enemy who hides behind the backs of peaceful residents. Of course, it is very hard to take part in combat when they are in the open field, open from every direction, and their enemies were in residential areas, firing at them from cannons and rocket launchers, and the Ukrainian military did not have the right to respond. They did not have the right to shell peaceful residential areas. And when the tanks approached and fired at the terminal at point blank, you know, they had to be real cyborgs and real patriots when they were in the terminal that could be shot through with a pistol, and they were fired at from tanks. They did not surrender on their own. They ran out of ammunition. Some of them are now in captivity. Of course, this is a feat of the battle. There was a reconnaissance commander there, nicknamed Rahman, a wonderful man. I met him when I was there first time. He was a commander of the reconnaissance in one of the battalions, and he arranged for he led his fighters out of the terminal, and when they were in safety, his guys said, "It's okay now," and he said, "No, I shall go there and take away other guys." He went there on an armored personnel carrier, and the APC exploded, and those orcs attacked him and he shot at them, and he really rescued another two guys. He's in the hospital now, and I can only admire those guys. And if I were a patriot of Ukraine, if I were a citizen of Ukraine, I could thank them for what I have seen, but as a stranger, I can only admire them and wish everything best to them and those who will support them. We address those people who have to go to military service. I want to tell you, it won't be easy, but this is your choice. You're not going to join the American army, not the German army. You're going to join the Ukrainian army, which continues which is still being created in the time of war. But who, if not you, should help create the army and together solve the problems that arise, so that never again happens what happened in Ilovaisk, in road checkpoint 31, in the Donetsk airport, and so that the feats of valor, however beautiful they sound, the feats of valor should not happen, the legends should not be created, so that you can solve all the problems just with the fact that you have a good army, everyone is afraid of you, and no one attacks you. I saw the eyes of those young people at the airport. I saw how they treat their duty, how they understand what is requested of them, how they are aware of their role, and how they become men out of boys, and how they understand that there's a patriotism which is not only a term used by scoundrels, but there's a true patriotism as well. And there's a lot of examples like this, and I haven't seen much of this in other conflicts. There were some bloody grinders, hatred, fury, fright, fear, treachery. Of course, there are such elements here as well, but such an amount of bright valor, patriotism, and such quality of people I haven't seen for long. If I were a citizen of Ukraine, I would be proud of you, and as a stranger, correspondent, I just am telling you this.
I would like to introduce advisor to the Minister of Defense, who will describe the campaign. I also would like to invite Maxim Muzeka. Having heard Sergey Loyko, who came from Moscow, and we used his photos made in the Donetsk airport, despite the fact that the Donetsk airport doesn't exist anymore. Nevertheless, we will use his pictures in our promotion of mobilization campaign. I think there is no need to explain why do we need mobilization, taking into account what's going on in Mariupol now. And now we are trying to organize a promotion campaign throughout Ukraine. Rahman, who was mentioned by Sergey, also agreed that his photo would be used during our promotion campaign. Maybe Yuriy will add something. Maybe Maxim will add something. Thank you for invitation. I would like to add that out of those heroes whom we you will see the big boards. I'm the least deserving to be there in the big boards, and I'm mobilized during this wave of mobilization. Unfortunately, our guys are fighting now, and they couldn't be here, of course. Rahman was one of the list to leave the terminal. He is wounded now, and he is in hospital in Dnipropetrovsk. The promotion campaign had been being prepared before the final fight for the airport, and it was extremely difficult for them to stack with this decision, with this permission to use their portraits in promotion campaign, because it was very difficult situation when they had to escape from the airport, to leave it, to surrender, and many guys were killed in the airport. We had to have Mr. Stets, Minister of Information. Now he's at the Cabinet of Ministers session, and thanks to the Minister of Information, we were able to produce all the materials which will be used during this campaign, and we would like to thank you for all this printed products, and we actually did not spend any money for this. Now questions, Sergey Kutnyakov, Man and 4. Preparation to army service and subsequent mobilization actually means that young people should be subject to pre-army training. Probably you remember that before the Second World War, many young people were trained in anti-chemical response, military response, etc. And also there was special training offered in various kinds of army services. So my question is whether you plan any sort of training for young people, whether you plan to cooperate with the territorial battalions, because of course such training requires special venues for military training. As far as I know, majority of volunteer battalions, of the territorial battalions, were suggested to join the regular troops of the Ministry of the Interior, army forces, etc. Of course, in this case, they are able to use the special training facilities of those units. Then the mobilization plan provides for special facilities where training and military exercise are organized for the new warriors. Also, there is a special instruction for local authorities that bomb shelters should be examined and repaired. Also, we cooperate with the International Media Association, with the Independent Journalists Union of Ukraine, and we organize special trainings for those journalists who will cover the events at the front line and ATO zone, and they will be specially trained to live and to work in the immediate front line. We will also provide special life insurance arrangements for them, and we plan to train up to 100 journalists in the first round of such training. Actually, training should be organized by the Ministry of Defense. The National Guards and battalions, they are the third line, the second and third line of the defense. And our role is to ensure proper numbers of new servicemen.
Can you tell us about how the mobilization has started? Are there any problems? And how this promotion campaign is going to help them? Well, we have to, of course, issue information about the mobilization campaign in any case. And our campaign has been delayed a bit because of the situation in the airport, because there are no terminals anymore, and we were hesitating for a couple of days whether we should launch this campaign in the way it is designed. Then we decided that the legend is more powerful than concrete, and we decided to do it the way it is at the moment. And of course, officially this is a secret, but the number was quoted more than once. We have to mobilize something like 50,000 people in this wave of mobilization, and as far as I know, almost 63,000 were already summoned or invited to undergo medical checks, and by the end of last week, almost 2,000 volunteers have come to us. And by the way, the liberated territories of Donetsk region show a rather good result. And people who live closer to the anti-terrorist operation zone understand better that you should show your adherence if you don't want the tanks to come to your towns. You know that Luhansk and Donetsk regions were exempt from the previous wave of mobilization. The volunteers from battalions said that they have a problem with legalization within the framework of this Ministry of Defense. Those were the own battalion and the right sector volunteer corps. They do not want to become part of the Ministry of Interior. Yes, those are the battalions that are engaged in combat along with us. And I talked to the minister, and his respects highly respects those battalions that you mentioned, and in particular Dmitro Yarosh. And I think that there's a need for maybe another round of talks, and they should be with us. By the way, there's quite a lot of fighters there, several fighters there whom we could use for this promotional campaign. They were from the Ukrainian volunteer corps, the right sector, but because officially they are not within the ranks of the Ministry of Defense, we could not use their images. I hope that maybe next month the situation will be changed and we will be able to reinforce our campaign with their faces. Another question to Maxim. We have a calendar with Sergey Loyko's photos. I want you to tell us where we can buy it and what the money will be used for. Well, really, this calendar was made right before the new year. He allowed to use those photos. This is Sergey Loyko's photos of cyborgs. I saw yesterday how they handed those calendars to Rahman in the hospital, to Commander Chorny of the Right Sector Battalion. And when I saw their reaction, I thought that this is what should have been done. And all the money that is raised from selling this calendar goes to help the fighters, to help the wounded. I hope that we will soon sign the contract with the Ukrainian post office, and they will have the post office in every post office. And we have sold almost 1,000 copies through Facebook. You can find them on my page, Maxim Muzika. Any other questions? Thank you, Maxim. Thank you, Tetiana. I hope that this campaign will bring good results. And the next briefing about the situation in the anti-terrorist operation zone